Let's move into the big race on the Friday, the big race of the meeting, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. And it's a very, very competitive Gold Cup, even though we have a short price favourite. Galloping Deschamps leads the market 6-4. Brave Man's Game 6-1. Defending champion Aplutar's 13-2. Statler Noble Yates 8-1. Conflated at 12s and 14-1 Bar. Callum, Galloping Deschamps. We have maybe seen a different Galloping Deschamps this year. They're trying to make him more into a Gold Cup horse. The last day people picked at it, said it was not the form you want getting into a Gold Cup. Others have said that's exactly what you need for a Gold Cup, the way he performed last time. Where are you at with this favourite?
I'm increasingly warming up to him, to be honest. The Irish Gold Cup was a bit more workmanlike, but you can see what the Mullins camp are trying to do here and trying to settle him down, let him out your race, and harness that kind of exuberance to actually get the trip. I thought that was a good sign, that Irish Gold Cup, the way he did go through it. You probably weren't happy in 2 because it's a short price favourite and you want a short price favourite to win well and win catching the eye. It was a bit workmanlike, it was a bit getting down and dirty and doing it, and then once he flew the last, he was away and gone, and again Paul Townend found it difficult to pull him up. There have been conflicting reports about him post-race coming out of that. Someone said that for a week he was absolutely shattered and legless, and some else said he was bouncing afterwards. I mean, that's a kind of mixed review that you get from these kind of preview circuits sometimes. You just have to draw your own conclusion. I think the trip, I think it's 85% sure to get this trip, I would say. Only his exuberance, only maybe a bit airy early on over his fences might cause him trouble. I think you'd be more concerned about the first circuit than the second circuit with him. And I also think that he is definitely the one that could be like have a wow factor here. Because I think Aplutar's got a lot to prove back from Haydock. I know Henry Dubron has done it before, but he won that Haydock race last year with pretty much conviction. I don't think they were expecting that kind of team effort. It's taken a while to get him back this Christmas because of a wee knock. But if he bounced back to that level, he's obviously in a similar way to what Braveman's Game, and he showed something different in terms of galloping to the line and seeing it out and maybe looking a bit stamina based and maybe looking a bit of a Gold Cup horse. The Irish Gold Cup and the King George are the two best bits of form. I can see why they're both at the head of the market.
Craig, let's look at Galloping Deschamps in line with everything else in the race. Galloping Deschamps is 6-4, Brave Man's Game 6-1. You've got a defending champion in there at 13-2. And you've also got a National Hunt Chase winner and a Grand National winner at 8-1. This is a very, very strange Gold Cup in terms of where winners are coming from.
I think it's the best renewal for many a year in terms of the competitive edge to it. But Mark touched on the ground earlier, and I don't think there's any race at the Cheltenham Festival that the ground is more important for than a Gold Cup, because you get two types of Gold Cup. You get one, despite the 3.25 mile distance, that you do need the speedier types. It does place more of an emphasis on speed, and falling into that bracket, you've got Galloping Deschamps, Brave Man's Game, A Plus Tard. If it comes up softer, you've got your stairs, the less sexy horses, Noble Yates, Statler, and the Scottish horse, Ahoy Senior. So, the ground for me in this race will be very, very important. I'd love to see Ahoy Senior win it for Lucinda Russell. The yard is in fantastic form coming into the race at the time of recording. Last 5 horses have won. He loves the track. He comes here on the back of a really good prep, unlike last year. I think he's a big price, and Brave Man's Game would be the other that I like in the race. This year's King George was also a good renewal. He had a great battle with La Home Press up the straight. Unfortunately, he unseated late on, but he's seen it out really well, Brave Man's Game, and there's no better target trainer than Paul Nicholls for preparing a horse for the big day. So Brave Man's Game will be cherry ripe, but he probably wouldn't want the ground to be soft or worse. He would want at least a good to soft underfoot to be seen to best effect. He's a class horse coming on the back of the King George success, and Ahoy Senior would be the other. That they would be the two highest up on my shortlist at this time.
Mark, where are you in terms of Galloping Deschamps against the field? Do you think the favourite's a good thing, or are you looking elsewhere?
I think if he gets ground no worse than good to soft, I think he could be like Constitution Hill. I think he could give us a bit of a wow factor. I hope he does. I'm not with him. I've not backed him. I backed Startler at the start of the season at 20-1. I just don't like what I've seen from Startler this season. I thought he should have beaten Minolendo at Tremor, and he didn't. And then, although he stayed on, he was well beaten really by Gallopin Deschamps. And he was getting no closer. He was just staying the same distance behind for the whole straight. Really, there are strong stayers in here. If it gets, softish, then you'd bring in a Hoy Senior for me. You really would. And then Noble Yates as well. It also depends on if something goes out. I don't see a whole lot of pace in the race, which is worrying as well, because that'll bring the speed horses like Raveman's Game and Gallopin Deschamps. They'll like that, a Plutard. If there's no pace, they're going to, their speed's going to come to the fore. If it's a slog, like if there was a native river in here, then you'd bring in the Ahoy Seniors and Noble Yateses. And maybe it depends a lot. Will they sacrifice Minolendo to give, will they just put him out in front to try and steady it up and go a slow pace? But Ahoy Senior is, he's a strange horse. If he jumps well, he could, wreck this field. But he clouts at least 3 to 4 fences each race. So it's a very difficult race. I think, like Craig said, the ground's really important on this race. I wouldn't take the short price in Gallopin Deschamps unless I was sure the ground was, no worse than good to soft. I think he's the most likely winner, though. But I haven't had any money apart from the bet I had at the start of the season on Startler, and I'm not really very confident with that bet. But I think the most likely winner is Gallopin Deschamps, as long as it doesn't get deep.
Has he ever been a good price for this race, Gallopin Deschamps? I think the shortest we've seen him was about 9-2. So I think that's always been the thing with me. Like, is he well worth being that short? He's obviously got enormous talent. We can see that. The only kind of under fences was last year's Turners, where he was travelling superbly up until the last and just missed his feet. I do think if everything goes right and he stays, he'll win. I don't understand how Monelando's 20-1. I think he's a very good each way bet. He's a former winner. They've obviously changed plans last year. He doesn't like this. He's never really good first time out his previous 2 years. He comes in the New Year's Day in Tremor and beats Startler, giving Startler weight. Getting weight from Startler, fair enough. But I still think 20-1 for a former winner who's been really good his first time out is a really good each way bet. But I do just think Gallopin Deschamps could just be special. And if it goes in his favour and he stays the trip, I think he's going to win. So we'll go round the panel. Callum, where are we at? What's your pick for this race?
It would have to be Gallopin Deschamps at the moment.
Gallopin Deschamps. Craig, you're very much a British winner.
I am indeed. Brave Man's Game, marginally over a Hoy Senior.
Mark, where are we at?
Yeah, I think the favourite as well, Gallopin Deschamps.
I think Gallopin Deschamps and Manila Indo each way.